Welcome to This Explainer. Look, we all see the headlines, these massive, incredibly complex environmental issues dominating the news. It can feel pretty overwhelming, right? Well, today, we're going to transform those giant global challenges into actionable, everyday steps. By digging into the blueprints we've gathered, we're going to prove how your local, everyday habits absolutely drive massive global solutions.
So we have to start with a big question to frame our whole journey today. How do your daily habits actually change the world? I know, it sounds like a really lofty question, but the connection between, say, your morning routine and the overall health of the planet, it's remarkably direct. We're going to map out exactly how a simple, everyday action translates into real global impact.
Okay, let's get our definitions straight first. We're talking about the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs for short. These are 17 global objectives designed specifically to tackle complex challenges like climate change and biodiversity loss. But here's the thing. They aren't just some abstract ideas for politicians sitting in a room somewhere. They are literal blueprints for our planet's future, and they rely entirely on sustainable lifestyle changes from people exactly like you and me.
Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start by looking at our global guardianship mission. Then, we'll dive right into SDG 12 on responsible consumption, SDG 13 on urgent climate action, and SDG 15 on protecting terrestrial life. After that, we'll explore the power of how all these goals connect, and we'll wrap up with how we step up as global citizens.
All right, kicking things off with our global guardianship mission. We're zooming right in on your specific role here because, it's super easy to feel tiny when we're talking about the entire world. But this framework literally places you right at the center of the action.
Now, like I mentioned, there are 17 of these amazing goals in total, but we are zeroing in on 3 crucial targets today, SDGs 12, 13, and 15. Why these 3? Well, our source material highlights them because they are the specific areas where your local, everyday choices most directly connect to massive environmental solutions. These are the sweet spots where your personal lifestyle changes have the most immediate, measurable impact.
Let's step into our first realm of action. SDG 12, responsible consumption. This is all about how we make, buy, and ultimately dispose of everyday items.
Think about the stark contrast between how we used to do things and where we need to be. The old way of doing things is, frankly, incredibly wasteful, just burning through natural resources and relying heavily on harmful chemicals. But the SDG 12 way, that's a real game changer. It's all about recycled, durable products and promoting a circular approach where absolutely nothing goes to waste. And it's great to see global organizations like the UN Environment Program actively backing this shift by helping countries worldwide improve how they manage waste and chemicals.
So, how do you get in on this? You actually have 3 everyday superpowers to hit this goal right from your house. Step 1, simply reduce what you use. Be mindful of what you buy. Step 2, reuse and mend. Bring that reusable bag to the grocery store or actually sew up a torn shirt instead of just tossing it in the trash. And step 3, recycle properly. Taking the time to sort items into the correct bins is basically the foundation of this whole circular approach.
Okay, shifting gears to our next crucial realm of environmental guardianship, SDG 13, urgent climate action.
We all know the basics here, right? Climate change is this incredibly dangerous warming of our planet, and it's driven by excessive levels of carbon dioxide just hanging out in the air. SDG 13 explicitly targets this reality. It's a massive call for immediate action to fight global warming, primarily by transitioning over to clean energy sources and drastically shrinking our carbon footprint.
And once again, your role here is absolutely powerful. Even the smallest personal actions actively help cool down the planet. You can save energy simply by flipping off lights and electronics when you leave a room. You can walk or bike instead of always jumping in a car. And you can plant trees. Trees are basically nature's giant air filters. They absorb that excess carbon dioxide right out of the air. Literally every single one of these actions is a direct strike against climate change.
Moving right along to our third realm. SDG 15, protecting terrestrial life. This one focuses on the incredible ecosystems that make up life on land, from the densest forests to sweeping deserts and all the mountains in between.
Now, the crucial takeaway here really boils down to one staggering number: 1 million. According to our source material, 1 million species are currently threatened with extinction if we keep losing our natural forests and habitats. To put that into perspective, that is an incomprehensible amount of life at risk. When we lose these natural spaces, animals lose their homes, and many could just disappear forever.
It's a massive, urgent challenge.
But just like with the other goals, you have the power to intervene here. You can directly prevent biodiversity loss and protect these amazing animals with a few really focused actions. Get behind local conservation efforts in your community. Go out and plant trees or get involved in a community garden. Always respect wildlife and their natural habitats when you're hiking or exploring. And honestly, just don't litter. Keeping your local parks clean makes sure that animals aren't accidentally harmed by our garbage.
Which brings us to what is, honestly, the most fascinating part of this whole explainer: the power of interconnected goals.
See, these goals, they don't stand alone. They aren't just isolated little boxes that we check off one by one. Your actions actually create a massive domino effect. Success in one goal naturally triggers success in the others. We're going to map out exactly how your everyday choices create this unified impact across multiple global challenges all at once. You don't have to fight climate change, biodiversity loss, and waste management separately. They're all completely woven together.
Let's watch how this flows together. Step 1, you reduce your waste, which means you're successfully hitting the targets of SDG 12. But by doing that, Step 2 is almost automatic. You reduce the climate-harming emissions that come from manufacturing those products. So boom, you're tackling SDG 13. And actually, it gets better. Because we aren't extracting new resources from the Earth, Step 3 happens naturally. You're protecting natural land and habitats, fulfilling SDG 15. It's wild. A simple action sends a positive shockwave across multiple goals all at once.
All right, it is time to bring it all together, stepping up as global citizens.
Our source material has this really great phrase that perfectly encapsulates the journey: youthful blueprints for global environmental guardianship. Now that sounds a little formal, but what it really means is that you are now equipped with the practical toolkit to actually mitigate climate change, protect ecosystems, and secure the future of our planet. By applying these blueprints, you elevate yourself from just being a passive observer to being an active, literal guardian of the Earth.
So, I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on as we wrap up today's explainer. How are you going to apply your superpowers today to be an environmental leader? Are you going to bike instead of drive? Will you finally mend that old jacket in your closet? Maybe plant a tree this weekend? Yes, these global challenges are incredibly complex, but the solutions, they literally start right in your own hands. Think about that as you step out into the world today as a true global citizen. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and keep exploring those blueprints.